All right, so let's go ahead and launch Premiere. Okay. And we will do our usual set up our exercise folder. Oh, sorry, or save this in our exercise folder. All right. Go new project. And just label it exercise. Just going to put 04/29/24. That's tonight. Make sure it's going in your exercise folder. And second. So you put it in there. There it is. All right, and create. And bring in that folder that I sent everybody. It should say this. It should say Adobe Assets Exercise 04/29/24, and it's got a couple of, it's actually got a clip from Project One of me in the car driving down the driveway, and then this effect, right? So import that folder, right? You can import the whole folder. Okay, you can expand that, and it's got this shot of this car, right? If you remember from Project One, me driving out of the driveway. And then if you double click on the Adobe Stock, it's really an effect. It's a green screen effect, and I'll show you where we got it. And we're gonna sort of search around in the Adobe Stock Marketplace. I know some of you have been using those, which is great, but I want to encourage other people to take advantage. So this is a green screen effect. So it's got an animated wall here, and these doors open, and they reveal all this green. They reveal green screen, which means you can cut that out and then put something behind it. Okay. And so this is just one example of the kind of stuff that's in there. Okay. So let's go ahead and start with, make sure you've got those two. And take the car shot and just double click it. And we're gonna mark an endpoint on this because we don't want the whole clip, because this is raw footage, right? As you remember, I had to set up the camera, get in the car, and then there's all this extra stuff. So we're going to mark our endpoint here at 22. Do that again. 2200, which is be 20 seconds. Okay, hit enter. Mark that endpoint at 22. And then just let it drive out of frame a little bit. Somewhere right in there. You can mark that out and drop it in your timeline. Don't worry if the time code it doesn't have to be perfect. This is, I'm just using this as an example of how to use this one specific effect that is available to you in Adobe the Stock Marketplace, the Adobe Assets. Okay, I'm just kind of making that layer a little taller. We're not really worried too much about the audio on this. Okay, all right. So now you're going to take this and you're just going to plop it on top on video 2. Okay. All right. And just go ahead and extend the video a little bit past the effect. The effect is only so long, right? So right now you still see the same thing, right? But you can see that the video is below it, right? So this gives you basically the raw material, but now by applying an effect to this, right, an actual filter, a video effect, you can take advantage of this, right? So you want to have the video on one, the doors opening to the green screen up top. They're kind of essentially, this falls into the category of basically kind of like an overlay, right? You lay it over on top and then you reveal images or whatever video beneath it, but you have to clear out, we have to clear out the green. So as you may or may remember, we're going to go now to the video effects, right? Go into your main effects panel. Okay, so hopefully you've got the basic workspace that we always work with, right? Project, effects, that it has video effects, transitions, etc. You got your source panel, you got your effects control, program, timeline, the basic audio meters, and of course the tool palette. Okay, so we're going back up to video effects. I'm sorry, going back up to effects and then go into video effects. We're going to open that up and we're going to go down to the keying folder. And we've used this effect before, as you may remember, with the birds. Expand that, and we're going to go to the color key and go ahead and drag the color key and apply it to this Adobe stock image, right? So just drag it down, color key, let go, boom. You'll notice when it's applied, that bar above it will turn red because now you've altered it. You've put this effect on it. So now you've altered that native state, that original state. Okay. Now I happen to be, I think I must have been in the effects control because it, of course, reveals it now. So if you're still in here, source, go to effects, click on that image, and you're going to see that added. It might be collapsed, right? You'll see all your motion, but you're going to open up your color key. Okay. Bring your playhead a little forward so you start seeing the doors open, kind of like midway, because you want to see the green. Okay. And now just turn on all of these stopwatches, right? Okay. You're only going to set this once. You're not going to keyframe. You're not going to change the different effects here. All right. Remember how you can grab your eyedropper, right? And wherever it hovers over it, it picks up that color. So you go over the green, click on that, and the initial cut is pretty clean because it's identifying that color. Now, this is a very smooth green screen. And when we look at these in the Adobe assets, you're going to see these are very even. So it makes it easier to them to cut them out. So now we're going to play a little bit with tolerance, and everybody's values here might be a little different on tolerance, edge thin, or even edge feather. You may not even need edge feather, depending on your computer, your graphics card. So my numbers may not exactly match up with yours, but you'll notice too that when you look at this image, there's not really anything close to green in the rest of this layer, right? With this brick and this sort of like wooden frame around these doors, right? We're pretty far from green, which means with tolerance, you can go pretty far. If there was a color very similar to green, then you wouldn't be able to move very much with tolerance. So what you're doing with tolerance, you're getting rid of the edge. You see the little green around the doors, right? So I'm able to actually take this all the way up to about like 120, right? Because I don't want to see those things. But you also don't want to go too far where you don't start, see, you eventually start get close enough into some sort of variation that has some green and you cut it out. So I'm going back down. I'm going to go down to about like 120 on my computer. And maybe I can even actually see a little bit there. So I'm going to like move that up. I'm going to do like 140. That looks pretty clean. Okay. And now what you might want to do is you might want to scrub back and forth here and see if that opens up and it's pretty clean. You shouldn't see any like green flashing. So right there, I'm actually pretty good. I mean, I could do maybe an edge thin by like 1, but I don't have to do much. You don't want to go too far with that either, right? Because if you go too far, then you see how you start cutting into the image. And if you go the other way, then you reveal the green. So I'm going to just leave it at like 1, positive 1, right? And I don't really need to do any edge feather. That's a pretty clean effect. See, so the door's open, and of course, I just reveal the car behind it. So I'll let you play with that for a minute, right? And actually, I think I put 2 keyframes on the edge thin, so I'm going to delete that second one and go back to the first one and just set that at 1. Because I don't want any changes. I'm setting this once just so I can have a clean key. Okay, So essentially what we did here is we eliminated the green, and instead of that green, when you get rid of that green, it gives you transparency, and whatever is below it, you're going to see it. Okay. And you could still, if you wanted to alter the motion on this, you still have positioning and scale. You could do some of that, but I'm just going to leave it alone for now. And of course, you can still do whatever you want to your video below it, because all of those are fixed assets, right? Fixed properties. Okay. And so this would also be a great example of using a couple of layers, right? Taking advantage of some of the resources, Adobe assets, and using a video effect. Okay, so some of you have probably seen me make these comments on your grade sheets. This is the kind of stuff we're looking on Project 5. We really want, I really want you, I want you to motivate yourself. And many of you are doing all of this, which is great. Use your tools, use your resources, right? Just within Premiere, you've got the essential graphics, which is, of course, gives you a whole bunch of neat stuff. But now you've also got the assets, and I haven't spent as much time with that as I'd like, but we're going to spend a little more time with it. Okay. So now let me go back in here. And then once you get it the way you like it, and again, you can use whatever video underneath this. And I'm going to go ahead and render this. I'm going to mark it in and out over the beginning and the edge of this, and sequence and render in to out. It's going to take a second because you're going to have to definitely render for it to play back smoothly. Okay, and so here you go. So now the nice thing is the effect, this asset already has, it's already pre-animated. It's an MOV, right? It's a QuickTime file, right? So it's already got that move. If you wanted to speed up that motion, you could. But there you go. And there comes the car, and it's like, so this could be a cool way to reveal something. Again, this is just one effect, and there you go, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Right. So there's using the color key, taking advantage of a green screen effect. Okay. That making sense for everybody? Not that different from what we did. Well, kind of different, using the same effect that we did on that one exercise when we had the birds flying over the backdrop. Same basic idea, but this time, in that case, we had clip art, and we just cut out the white, right? And so we could make a clean bird and have it fly over the background. Now we have the top layer that we actually had to cut out so we could shoot something through it. Okay. Let's go through a few other things that you can play around with here in Premiere. And again, remember, we record this, so there's using a green screen video effect, combining layers, your own video effect, because you're actually applying the color key to make that happen, and you're using a couple of layers. Okay. Let's go ahead and sort of rope in that shot again. Let me just take that car shot. Let's open it up here and just drop it next to it. And I'm going to show you a couple other things that you may want to take a look at. And we're going to see one. I'm going to look at. We're going to look at some sample projects tonight. Sample 5, project 5. One of them incorporated some of this. One thing I wanted to make sure I covered was the idea of some of these presets. Okay, sometimes they're called looks. You can see here, for example, one of them is looks, and these are just filters. These are all preset based on different things. For example, if you open them up, and you can try to create some of this on your own, but you know what? They give you a lot of cool options here. For example, here's this idea of like a faded film. So you grab that and just stick it on this shot, and it kind of gives you this, looks like old 16 millimeter, washed out, that's been sitting like in a you know, in a can in front of the sun or something, right? So there's all these different looks. Hang on, all right? And I'm just going to get rid of, let's see, that effect. For example, you've got some monochrome filters here. Okay, here's, I don't know, faded film monochrome. Take a look at this. So kind of similar look, but it's got that, it's got the black and white look, right? Let me extend this shot a little bit there. Okay. Let's come down here. Here's one called Speed Looks, and here you get into specific cameras and different looks by some of those cameras. Okay, so try this one, this Blackmagic Cinema camera. There's a whole variety here. For example, here's one, let me see, Blue Steel. So you apply to that, and it gives you this sort of contrasty feel. Okay. Let me take that out. And let's try, here's one called Similar. It's a gold heat. I think this is maybe a little warmer. So you can see this one's like a little warmer. Right? So again, these is ways that you can stylize your video, and you can apply these on stills too, and you can also click this and open this up in the effects control. Okay. Let me collapse my motion effects, and there you have all of those parameters for that specific filter. So for example, you can go into creative, and it has its own variety of things you can adjust. For example, if you like the look, but maybe you want less saturation, then go ahead and drop that saturation. You know, I dropped it by about 30%. So you still kind of got that look, but now it's, you know, not quite as blown out. You want to work in a little bit of the faded film quality, you can. So you can still, like everything that Premiere gives you, even when it's a preset or a template, it lets you further customize it a little bit. Okay, so again, I'm just kind of like scraping the surface on some of this, but I want to make sure that you knew some of this stuff was here. Let's see, what's the Canon 300? What's this guy called? Let's see. Let me just get rid of this. Blue Intense. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, so this is like cooler, right? So it's kind of slightly desaturated, but you could of course go back and open that up. And if you want to increase that look, you can make it so it's a little more, kind of brings out the greens a little bit. Okay. Anyway, so there's that kind of thing, right? These are found under the Lumetri presets up here, right? And then you've got all these different looks that you can play around with. Okay. All right. The other thing I wanted to show you is how to speed up and slow stuff down, which I think some of you probably figured out, but I wanted to go ahead and make sure everybody knew how to do that. I'm going to just drag another instance of that clip right down here. Let it come out of frame a little bit. Okay. All right. So if you just wanted to uniformly like speed this up, you can just right click on it, go into speed duration. And we've been in here before, and 100 is always going to be the default regular real-time speed. Right now it's showing you that this clip is 19 seconds. If you want to double it up, you could do 200, you could do even faster, you could do 300. Now as you speed it up, it will also show you how much shorter you've made it. Now it's only 6 seconds. And you can leave your audio synced, or you can unsync it. I'm just going to leave it synced, and so now it's shorter because it's a lot faster, right? So it goes back, and there it is. If you want to make it even faster, click on it again. Let's make it like really fast. Let's make it like 600. So now it's only going to be a 3-second clip because you literally shortened it. You're taking the same amount of action, and you're saying, and there it goes, and it zips off. Now let's say as it zips off right here, you want to slow it down. Well, you can kind of cheat this. You can cut it right here with your razor blade, right? And then click on that section, right click, go to duration. You could go back to 100, which would slow it down. Let's try that. And it's only going to slow down that part. Well, in this case, I'm putting it back to real-time speed. Okay, right? So here, right, it's going to speed up, and then there it's going to slow down. So you can see it taken off, and there it slows down. So that's kind of like a variable frame rate. Now there's another way that you can do that, which I didn't get into this semester, but you can look it up on your own. It's time remapping. It's you can do it with keyframing, which is a little smoother, and you've got more variables. But this is a way that you can cheat it, right? So I literally just cut the clip at one point. The first part was like what, 600. This part was only 100, so it really emphasizes the frames per second, right? Right, there it goes. Okay. So there's a few techniques I wanted to make sure we covered. If you want to play around with that for a minute, go ahead. I'll give you a few minutes. And then we're going to jump into the Adobe assets and kind of look around in there, show you some things. I haven't always had as much time to look around there, but now, since you still have another week to get this project done, right? Because this is due next Monday, right? Beginning of class. You've probably already started working on 5, but maybe you might have some ideas there, some things that can maybe help you embellish what you're doing. Let's go into, I'm going to jump into the Adobe Stock Marketplace here for a minute. So when you click on your Creative Cloud, you'll probably get to this page, which is kind of like your home page, all your apps and stuff, right? All right, so here's our home page, right? You can, go to your apps, you can update stuff and all that. If you have any files saved, Stock Marketplace, right? And we putzed around in here a little bit. A lot of times it might take you to the featured section here, and we did a little searching here before. But now if you go here on this main menu up top, go to free. Again, unless you want to pay. So I'm narrowing it down to stuff that should be included in your account. Okay. And this has a whole bunch of stuff, photos, vectors. These are cool, videos. And again, popular stock photos. I know a lot of you have used some of these in Project 3, and I've seen evidence of some of this. Of course, they break down some of these vectors in different topics, categories. Aerial, this is like a lot of aerial free footage. I've downloaded a bunch of this stuff before. For example, here, let's click on this for a minute. So I'm going to free up a main menu, coming down here. I'm going to free videos. I'm going to scroll down. And down here, this is where I found all the green screen videos. So this is category. This is sort of compartmentalizing everything, right? So it's organizing them based on, and here's all these different types of green screen. So here's a green screen. You wanted to put your titles up here. That could be fun. Do a motion effect on that. And, you've got the highway billboard sign. Here's the TV effect, right? And that's got the green. This one's kind of fun. It's got this stuff flying through. Here's one where you could, peek through the blinds and see, whatever you want back there. Here's the one we used right here a minute ago, right? You've got other ones here like this has snow, so you could overlay that, right? Here's money. Let's see. There's all kinds of, here's a wow with, it's already animated. So there's all kinds of stuff that you could do here, right? And you're essentially going to use like the color key to cut out things and replace it. Okay, so let me go back here. And let me see, fire footage. This one has some stuff. So for example, like here's one. This has like kind of like these sparks, these kind of embers. Here's like fire. So here's fire with kind of like a green screen. So anyway, just all sorts of things that you can incorporate. For example, like this one, actually I already brought this down earlier. So let me just bring that in. All right. So I brought this one down, which is kind of like these it's kind of like these embers burning, right? All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and bring those in for a minute. And other assets. I think it was here's a couple that I brought in. I'm just going to bring them all in. Okay. Right. And yeah, let me just go ahead and bring the car shot back down there, right? So I have some video that I can play around with. And I think are these, that's not it. I think it's this one. Yeah, here's my embers. So I dropped that on top. Okay. So it does cover it up, but if I go into that, I could go into that and go ahead and play with the opacity. Hang on, I'm not sharing. Okay, there it is. All right, I click that, go into the effects control. Okay, and if I say, for example, adjust my opacity a little bit, then I can sort of overlay that. Again, maybe I wouldn't do it over this shot, but you know, if I was, I don't know why that's frozen. Oh, there it is. Oh, let me find a better shot here. There you go, right there. There it is. Okay. Okay. So there it is. So there I'm playing with opacity, using another layer, etc. All right. So all kinds of stuff that you can do. Here's a fun one. This is a an Illustrator file. Oh no, that's not the one I wanted. Hang on, I'll find it. It's over here. Um, so you have things like this. Graphics. There it is. It's in graphics. This one right here. So this is just one example of copy this, bring this over. It gives you like these curtains. And so the black is transparency, right? So you bring that up. And because this is a still image, you can extend it and make it as long as you want. Yeah, so you go. Just all kinds of stuff you could do. And if you needed to adjust that, you could. You could go into it. If you needed to position it a little higher, you know, because, you know, my car is kind of getting covered up, right? Etc. Anyway, again, maybe not the best example using this car shot, but you get the idea. So, and that is in vectors. That's going to be in these vectors. Go back, fire footage. Actually, I forgot where I got that, but it was in, I think it was in transitions, or maybe backgrounds, or maybe it was in video templates. Yeah, anyway, you know, just I highly recommend dig around. And you know, there's a lot of neat stuff here. Okay. Hang on a second. Let's go into some vectors. Let's look at this for me. So this is all high-res stuff, generally done in Illustrator. You know, lots of cool stuff here that you can use. Doodles, for example. Anyway. And so anything, so for example, something like that, when you see that checkerboard, that's transparency as well. All the I don't need to tell the graphic folks this stuff. Right, you can go back from there. Anyway, so dig around. There's a lot of stuff here, but if you start up here with free, then you'll be led into at least the, oh, here we are. Here's the vectors I was looking for. Yeah, so here's a whole bunch of cool stuff. You could almost like frame something. And there's your checkerboard, which gives you that transparency. That's already done. Here's the film slides. I think Kat, you use one of these. Maybe you put a few together. All sorts of neat stuff. There's the curtains that I got, and you could see that checkerboard was transparency. Anyway, so that's another quick tour of the Adobe Stock Marketplace, Adobe Assets. You know, try to see if you can take advantage of those a little bit. Okay. All right. Any questions on anything? I know we kind of moved a little quick, but I kind of wanted to cover a lot of stuff um, fast. Anybody have any questions? Does anybody not know how to get to the stock marketplace? You should automatically be able to get to it because you need to have the cloud installed anyway, so you can update and access other programs in your account. Okay.
I do have a question.
Yes, Autumn.
The stuff for the green screen, like how are those created? Because the vectors are in Illustrator, but how would those green screen items be created?
I mean, you could go ahead and try to create your own. I mean, you could find, for example, clip art that you like. And for example, I have like um well, those are done, probably in After Effects. They probably create them and then they export them out as MOVs. But if you wanted to, well, there was actually a pure green screen. Hang on a minute. Let me go back in there for a minute. Because I think in that green screen collection, free videos. Hang on, let me make sure I'm sharing the right thing. There is a full screen of just green, right? Was it here? Yeah, it was in videos, and then we had to scroll down. Oh, I see, but it kicks me out of the share. So right here, there it is. Okay. And when you come back down here, I believe there was one screen that was right here. So here's just, oh no, it has that. But you could, let me see, I thought there was another one where they just gave you a solid green screen of something. Now that has a lightning. But you could grab, I don't know if they give you a clean. Okay, this has a little bit of green behind it. I mean, you could actually grab any one of these that has a solid green area and you could spread it out. If you're trying to like this is mostly just a flat green screen, but it's just got this like crab walking. So you could bring this in. Here, I'll show you. If you wanted to, like, are you asking like I want to create my own green screen with my own elements?
Well, I think I'm understanding now. It's just like clip art on top of a green screen, basically. Is that
Some of it is,
all?
yeah, and some of it is in like that brick thing with the doors that was animated, right? So they did that in After Effects, and then they had some alpha in there, and then they punched that in. But here, I'm going to bring this green thing in. I'm going to show you an example. It's going to take a second to download, and in the meantime, I'm going to bring in some real basic clip art that I have. Hang on a second, I have to go find it. It was in color key exercise. Yep, here's an old TV clip that I have. So I'm going to do this over here. All right, so for example here. So here's some clip art, right? I bring this in. I'm going to put this in on. This is just something I got off the internet. So obviously this is a little bit small, so I'm going to resize it. Right, I'm going to scale it up so it fills, the screen here.
I won't see the screen.
Oh, I can't see the screen. Yeah. So what I'm doing here is boom, boom, boom. All right, I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to distort this, and I'm just going to spread it out. Oh, wait a minute. Somehow it rotated on me. Make it 90 degrees. Okay, there you go. So I'm just going to make it, I want the other way. There you go. All right, so I'm distorting it a little bit, but I wanted to get rid of that white. And let me see, height, scale width. Because this is a smaller dimension. But so here, I could do something like this, and I probably have to play with it a little bit, right? I go into video effects and find that color key, apply it on there, right? And turn all this stuff on and go that and clip out that white and then try to get that out. So it's a little trickier because I've got some white over here. as you can see. So if I go too far, I start cutting that out. So I don't know how smoothly I can do this, but I can play maybe with a little bit of edge thin. And maybe I can try to feather it a little bit. So maybe I can get away with a little feathering. So I'll leave it at that. Not the best example, but now that black is transparency. Okay. So now if I go back to that clip that I was downloading, which should be there by now, I think it's this one. Yeah, I'm going to grab that. Hang on. Okay. You're gonna lose me for a second, but don't worry about it. A second. Share. Right. So I'm grabbing this thing that I just downloaded, which is right here. Okay. Let me share this again. All right. So I've brought in that clip, which is right here. Right. And there's the crab. So the crab stays pretty much on the bottom, which is fine. I don't want the crab. I'll bring it down here. Does it ever like leave the frame? Oh, look at that. Well, that's fine. I don't need the whole thing because, right? Let me bring this down. So let's just say I'm going to extend this a little bit. Okay. So you can see it's way at the bottom, but I can just clip on that green and I can scale it up, reposition it a little bit and get the crab out of the way. Crab's out of the shot now. See, I can't even see the crab. I can kind of see it crawling around there. I'll just make it a little bigger. So he's like way off screen, right? And there's my green, right? Which actually, technically, I don't even need anymore now that I think about it. You know what? Actually, because I already cut out the background, right? But if you wanted, but this is how they might do something where you would have the green in there, right? And you would bring that up. And now, of course, that fills in. And you could go ahead and like nest that and you could export it. And if you wanted that to have just that effect, there it is. And then you cut out the green, which might be easier to clean out than the white. Okay. But if you want like pure green for whatever, that's where I would recommend getting it. Going back to that clip with that crab, which is down in here. You can also, if you you can buy fabric. I mean, I was going to do this, but we don't have time. If you get like a Kelly green or this kind of color, that the trick is lighting it. You have to light it, okay, and you have to light it really even. And you can apply multiple color keys to clean out the green, but you could also find tutorials on that. I might have one that I've done, but it would be pretty old. But anyway, to answer your question shortly is, yeah, that stuff was already created in After Effects, and then they just brought them in to the Adobe Stock. And so basically they're doing that hard work for you. Okay.